Hallowe'en Party by Agatha Christie. The story begins in the bustling, cheerful chaos of a house called Apple Trees in the quiet English village of Woodleigh Common. The famed crime novelist, Miss Ariadne Oliver, is visiting her friend Judith Butler and has been roped into helping prepare for a children's Hallowe'en party. The hostess is the formidably competent and handsome Mrs. Rowena Drake, a woman who seems to run most of the village's social affairs. Amidst the flurry of pumpkins, apples, and decorations, the children, a mix of ages from 10 to 17, chatter and giggle. Mrs. Oliver, a large woman with prominent gray hair, finds herself the center of attention. A sturdy, somewhat boastful 13-year-old named Joyce Reynolds engages her, asking about her murder mysteries. When another child suggests having a pretend murder at the party, Joyce makes a startling and unwelcome declaration: "I saw a murder once." The adults, including Rowena Drake and a schoolteacher, Miss Whittaker, quickly dismiss her claim as childish fantasy. The other children mock her. Stung, Joyce insists vehemently, I did, I saw it." She explains that she didn't realize it was a murder at the time, only much later, which only increases the others' disbelief. The moment is quickly lost in the renewed chaos of party games, and no one gives the strange outburst a second thought. That evening, the party is a resounding success. There are games of apple bobbing, cutting a flower cake, and a mock witch played with gusto by a local cleaning woman, Mrs. Goodbody, who tells the girls their fortunes with mirrors. The festivities culminate in the dramatic, flame-lit game of Snapdragon. As the last flaming raisin is plucked from the dish and the lights come up, the party is over. Mothers begin gathering their children, but one is missing. Joyce Reynolds cannot be found. A search begins, at first casual, then growing more frantic. Finally, she is discovered. In the quiet library, where the messy game of apple bobbing had been set up, Joyce is found dead, her head held down in the galvanized bucket of water, drowned among the floating apples. The shocking event sends Mrs. Oliver fleeing to London in a state of high emotion. She bursts into the flat of her friend, the renowned detective Hercule Poirot. After calming her with a glass of brandy, Poirot listens intently. Mrs. Oliver recounts the day's events, culminating in the horrific discovery. But she has not come to him simply because of the murder. She has come because of what Joyce said. That strange, boastful claim, dismissed by everyone as a lie, has taken on a terrifying significance. Poirot agrees. A child boasts of having witnessed a murder, and only hours later, that child is dead. The connection is too strong to be a coincidence. Someone at the party, someone who was also present during the afternoon preparations, must have heard Joyce's claim and acted with brutal speed to silence her forever. Poirot travels to Woodleigh Common, deciding to begin his investigation by visiting an old friend, the retired but still sharp Superintendent Spence, who happens to live in the village with his shrewd sister, Elspeth Mackay. Spence, though no longer on the force, has his ear to the ground. He gives Poirot an overview of the community and the likely suspects, which the police assume must be a mentally disturbed adolescent. Poirot shares the crucial information about Joyce's claim. This changes everything. They are no longer looking for a random maniac, but for a hidden murderer from the past. Spence provides a list of unsolved deaths or suspicious incidents from the last few years that a child like Joyce might have witnessed. There was Mrs. Llewellyn Smith, a wealthy widow and Rowena Drake's aunt, who died suddenly of a heart condition, after which a codicil to her will, leaving everything to her foreign au pair girl, Olga Semenoff, was discovered to be a forgery. There was a young lawyer's clerk, Leslie Ferrier, who was knifed, and there was a local school teacher, Janet White, who was strangled. Armed with this information, Poirot begins his own careful program of interviews. He meets the victim's family, Mrs. Reynolds, a tearful and conventional mother, and Joyce's siblings, the smug older sister Anne, and the quiet, mechanically minded brother Leopold. All of them confirm that Joyce was a compulsive liar, prone to telling tall tales for attention. Poirot also visits the formidable Rowena Drake at Apple Trees. She is cool and controlled, expressing more annoyance at the disruption than grief, and she is adamant that Joyce's claim was pure fantasy. A key piece of the puzzle comes from Miss Whittaker, the schoolteacher. She tells Poirot of a strange incident she witnessed during the Snapdragon game. The room was hot, and she had stepped into the hall. She saw Rowena Drake on the landing above, carrying a large, heavy vase of flowers. Rowena looked down towards the library door and suddenly started, dropping the vase, which shattered and soaked her with water. At the time, Miss Whittaker thought nothing of it. But in retrospect, it seemed Rowena had been startled by something or someone at the library door. Poirot realizes this could be the murderer's alibi for being wet after drowning Joyce. When Poirot confronts her with this, she denies being startled, claiming she was just tired and her hands slipped. Poirot's path leads him to the Quarry Garden, a place of strange, wild beauty created from a disused quarry by a landscape architect named Michael Garfield for the late Mrs. Llewellyn Smith. There, Poirot encounters Garfield himself, a man of exceptional, almost classical beauty, but with a cold, arrogant demeanor. He also meets the most compelling character in the village, Miranda Butler, Judith's 12-year-old daughter. Miranda is a fragile, intelligent, and deeply observant child who loves the strange garden. She seems like a wood nymph, perfectly at home in the eerie landscape. She reveals that Joyce was her best friend, and they told each other all their secrets. The investigation takes a darker turn when Rowena Drake appears at Poirot's guest house in a state of panic. There has been another murder. Joyce's little brother, Leopold, has been found drowned in a brook. Rowena confesses that she lied to Poirot. When she dropped the vase, she had seen someone emerging from the library. It was Leopold. She had believed the boy had killed his sister and, in a misguided attempt to protect a disturbed child, had kept silent. Now she realizes her terrible mistake. Leopold wasn't the killer. He was a witness. He must have seen the real murderer in the library with Joyce's body, and he had been silenced for what he knew. Poirot's focus shifts. He knows that Joyce was a liar. If she was repeating a story, it must have been a story she heard from someone else. And who was her best friend, the one she told secrets with? Miranda. It was Miranda, the quiet observer of the quarry wood, who must have been the real witness to the old murder. And now she is in mortal danger. Acting swiftly, Poirot sends a cryptic telegram to Mrs. Oliver, urging her to take Judith and Miranda to London immediately for their safety. He also acts on a chillingly playful rhyme dropped by Mrs. Goodbody. Ding dong dell, pussy's in the well. Police are dispatched to the Quarry Garden to investigate an old sealed-up wishing well. Inside, they find the skeletal remains of the au pair girl, Olga Semenoff. She had been knifed before being dumped in the well. On the road to London, Mrs. Oliver stops for lunch. In a moment of distraction, Miranda vanishes. She has been lured away by Michael Garfield, disguised with a gray beard. He drives her to a remote ancient stone circle called Kilteberry Ring. He has been poisoning her mind, telling her that Joyce's death was her fault and that she must now become a ritual sacrifice to restore beauty and balance. As the sun sets, he hands her a golden goblet filled with a poisoned, peach-scented drink. But Poirot, anticipating this, have alerted two of the teenage boys from the party, Nicholas and Desmond. They burst from their hiding place just as Miranda raises the cup, tackling Michael and saving her life. In the final confrontation, Poirot reveals the monstrously simple truth. The story began years ago with Rowena Drake's infatuation with Michael Garfield. He was a narcissist who loved only beauty and his own creative power. She was a passionate, controlling woman trapped in a marriage to a crippled invalid. Michael wanted money, vast sums of it, to create his ultimate masterpiece, a private garden on a Greek island. When Rowena's aunt, Mrs. Llewellyn Smythe, discovered their affair, she wrote a new genuine codicil to her will, leaving her entire fortune to her au pair, Olga. To get the money, the pair devised a cold-blooded plan. They murdered Olga and hid her body in the well. Then they hired a disgraced lawyer's clerk, Leslie Ferrier, to create a second codicil, a deliberately clumsy forgery, also in Olga's name. Their plan was that this fake document would be easily exposed, the blame would fall on Olga, the disappeared Olga, and the original will, which left everything to Rowena, would be upheld. To ensure his silence, they then murdered Leslie Ferrier. For 2 years their plan held. Then Miranda, hidden in a tree while bird-watching, witnessed them carrying Olga's body. She didn't understand what she saw until years later, but she told the story to her best friend, Joyce. When Joyce repeated the story at the party, Rowena, believing Joyce was the witness, killed her. Leopold, guessing the truth, blackmailed them, and so he too was killed. Finally, Michael attempted to eliminate the true witness, Miranda, in his own twisted aesthetic ritual. When caught, the beautiful and ruthless Michael Garfield drank his own poison from the golden cup. Poirot also uncovers a final poignant secret. Miranda is Michael's biological daughter from a brief youthful affair with Judith Butler, a fact unknown to either of them, which explains the strange, almost magnetic bond between the innocent child and her monstrous father. With the killer dead and the secrets of Woodleigh Common exposed, Miranda and her mother are safe, and a horrified Mrs. Oliver is left to contemplate the dark passions that can bloom in the most tranquil English garden.